Norway Chess 2014, being played from June 3rd through June 13th, 2014, with a great players, many of the top 10 in the world. It's going to be a great tournament. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. More action from round 9, the last round of Norway Chess 2014. This is between two great players. White is Vladimir Kramnik, former world champion from Russia is white, and Alexander Grischuk, also from Russia, number 3 or 4 in the world is black. I mean, both of these guys are almost 2,800. You got to be kidding, right? These guys are great. Anyway, it's going to be an exchange Grunfeld. Let's get to it. Kramnik's white, Grischuk is black. Knight takes, typical Grunfeld stuff. We've all seen it a million times. C5, bishop e3, queen a5. Okay. I'd like to make a small commentary concerning Kramnik. He's a great player. Unfortunately, he's supporting the current FIDE president instead of Garry Kasparov, but that's okay. That's his prerogative. I think ever since he lost on tiebreaks to Carlsen in the candidates final in London, I think he's been having a hard time. I think he sees it as his last shot to play for the World Championship. And as we all know, Carlsen went on to beat Vishy Anand. And then there was another tournament in Russia, and Anand won that one. Not real easily, but fairly easily. And Kramnik didn't get in. And I think mentally, Kramnik thinks he's not going to get another shot. So I think that's affected his play. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play badly in this game. We'll have to see. Queen to d2. Castles, rook c1, bishop g4, Grunfeld we've seen a million times, d5, knight d7. I have my Fritz 13 computer on our screen. Small advantage for white, typical early in the game. We're on move 11. c4, just to button up that d5 pawn. Queen a3. Now, I think this opportunity again, and I think a lot of people would get a lot out of the fact that as you're watching videos like mine and others, before I make the next move, pause the video and see what you are going to do. It's Kramnik's move. What would you do? He goes bishop e2, bishop takes, bishop d4. Pretty simple. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and white finally castles. Now, I like white center a lot. Those pawns are really menacing, cutting off a lot of vital squares for black. All these squares here are all controlled by white center pawns. Pretty good. But he's got an isolated A-pawn. So you're black. Where would you move? Knight d5, of course. Does white take the pawn or not? Kramnik took it. Now the computer has suggested bishop e2 instead. Then after d3, rook c3, pawn takes, rook takes, pawn takes, check. The computer made a rook check. King takes, knight takes, queen to c1, knight a3, queen takes a3. All that fooling around, and ended up being 2 rooks for a queen. Pretty cool. Kramnik didn't want those complications. He just simply took the pawn. Knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Now, material is even. I like white a little bit better for the simple reason he's got 5 connected passed pawns, and a lot of them are in the center to be driven down. But we'll see how it works out. He's got 2 isolated pawns on both the rook flanks. I should say rook files. Rook c3, queen e2. What to do? What would you do as white? I think the obvious move is f4, and that's what he did. And he gave up that pawn. Kramnik sacrificed that pawn. I think to get some initiative. f5. He wants him to take, but of course that would really open up his king. He's not going to do that. As you can see, all kinds of bad stuff's going to happen. Pawn takes, rook comes over. The only way to stop the check is king. Well, that is mate, excuse me. So that is the end of the game. B6, E5, here come the pawn storm. I'm telling you, I like white a lot right now. It says even on the computer, but I think it's a lot easier to play for white. Granted, moving those pawns exposes white's king a little bit. Grischuk goes queen to B2, putting the pin on the rook. Now the rook can't move at all unless it's here because of the pin. King H1, queen E2. Now he's going after the rook on F1. Rook to F2, easy enough. There are no checks against the white king. All the squares are covered, except for E1, of course. King to G2. Now all the squares are covered. Rook A to C8. Rook to F1, E2 check. Now the computer did that. It's showing that black's trying to gang up on white's backward isolated C4 pawn. Rook F2. Queen back to E1. Rook G3. Looks like Kramnik's getting serious on developing an attack. Now the computer shows a tiny advantage for black, but I like white. Queen to B4. Excuse me. D6. He's trying to bust up that pawn, get a passed pawn. Rook takes. Queen to D3. Excellent, excellent choices. This is crazy. These double rook endings with queens are absolutely off the hook. Rook to G4. Game is still even on the computer. What would you do here as white? Would you take on E7? Would you push D7? Would you trade rooks? Kramnik decided to go D7, which was the computer's choice. Rook to D4, hitting the queen and the pawn. Now this is where I think Kramnik miscues. And he miscues fairly big. Computer's showing queen to C2 or F takes G6. This is tough. Really tough. What do you do? What do you do? He played queen to F3. Huge mistake. It's an over 3.5 point advantage for black now. He's up 2 full pawns, and white has absolutely no compensation. Queen to C2 is the only rescuing move, because after rook to D8, E6, which puts the game back at even. Kramnik miscued. E6, the perfect choice. If he had played rook takes D7 instead, F takes, queen to C4, E6, and it's over. White wins. So you can just hang it on a thread sometimes. After E6, he goes F6. He's looking to get the queen down in here for a mate here. Rook takes. Queen to E3, here it comes. This is where I think Kramnik miscued. He saw all of this, of course. Rook F to D8. Queen to H6. Now, how in the world is he going to guard that square? Rook to F8, of course. Somehow, some way, Kramnik missed that move. Queen to G5, H6. Queen to E3. King H7. We'll go through the few more moves. He's trying, though, but it's not going to do any good. Queen H6. Rook. Rook to D3. And this is where Vladimir Kramnik, former world champion from Russia, resigns. This is a tough tournament for Vladimir. I think he's still shaken by the fact that the last 2 tries to get in the world championship, one he missed by a tiebreak, the Carlsen, and the other one he just didn't play very well. And Anand won that tournament. Hopefully this isn't the end of Vladimir Kramnik. He'll still play in a lot of tournaments. I'd like to see him get one more shot at the world title. I think he deserves it. He's a great, great player. Anyway, folks, that's one of the games from round 9, Norway Chess 2014. I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Everyone is doing it. Guys are doing it with girls. And girls are doing it with other girls. Some get together in groups and do it. Some go online and do it with complete strangers. Some like deeper penetration when they do it. Some people get scared and pull out right in the middle of doing it. Sometimes when people do it for the first time, they don't last so long. Sometimes when people do it alone for too long, their hands cramp up. Some people just like to watch other people doing it. Some people have steady aim, and others just spray everywhere. Some people like to do it hardcore. Some people like to be all chatty-Cathy when they do it. Sons of bitches do it so loud they keep up the neighbors. Sometimes my dog likes to watch me do it. Some people go into domination mode, and that's some freaky-deaky shit. I've heard there's over 20 million people doing it now, so it's safe to say that everyone is doing it.